Hello, folks. Thank you once again for joining me. My name is John Kayode Abusi, and my job sit at the intersection of software and product security, engineering, and architecture. Can mention that enough. So today, I want to speak about something that is very important within the AWS ecosystem, and that is identity and access management. But in the light of this video, I'm going to talk about this particular service, and at the same time, I'm going to loop it with another, something close, another service called Identity and Access Management Center. The reason is that I don't want confusion. I'm going to talk about that service, separately later, but I just want to make sure that this particular video, takes that into account, that there is Identity and Access Management and there is Identity and Access Management Center. Identity and access management securely manages identity across AWS services and resources. That is what it does. The first one, identity and access management, it securely manages identity across AWS services and resources. Now, moving to what does it really stand for? Now, in a simple term, IAM is like a security system for AWS accounts. A security system for AWS account. It decides who gets into AWS account and what they can have access to. So it's more or less like AWS native access, controller. Then we go to what we call, it controls the actions that can be done. Like I said, it manages permission securely. What kind of permission do you have to what resources? Now, the key component of IAM is users. So we have users, we have groups, we have roles, and we have policies. Now, when it comes to users, it means an individual identity, personas, like developer, like admin, like whatever it is that you want to define as your user. Then number two is group, that is a collection of users. So number three is roles. That shows that roles can have multiple permissions. So when a particular person or service assume that role, that shows that they can use that role to do whatever they are allowed to do. So then policies is in JSON that define the action that can be performed, on a particular resources. So it's a JSON format that, document that define the kind of what actions is allowed or denied. That is that. Okay, so in the beginning, I said I'm going to, loop this with Identity Access Management Center. Here, what does that mean? Because I want us to have like correlation of what the difference between them. Identity Center, like IAM's center, instead of creating separate users for every AWS account, IAM Center allows you to create just one identity that can be used across multiple AWS accounts. That is one thing you have to note. The difference now between IAM, which is for a user, a persona, and IAM Center that allows you to create personas across multiple AWS environment. Now, the other thing you have to note, another capability, is that it allows for single sign-on. I think this service used to be called SSO, single sign-on. That shows that when you sign in, from a particular service point of view, that can allow you to use other services within the scope of that single sign-on. Now, then it uses centralized permission. When you provision a permission for a particular role or user, in one end, it can be used across, multiple accounts that is within the same scope. So these are the things that you need to know about this particular service. The other one is what I call integration with identity providers. Now, IAM identity centers allow you to, to integrate with other third-party identity providers like Azure, identity provider that is now called Azure Entra ID, Okta identity provider, and some other, SAML 2.0, identity providers like Google and Facebook and what have you. It can allow you to do that, to integrate with those solutions. You can use reusable, permissions in this environment. It allows you to do multiple account management. That is what I was talking about, that it allows to manage identities, permissions, whatever it is within this environment across multiple accounts. Now, let's look at the purpose of, IAM. IAM is used for account management. I'm just recapping now, summarizing it. Why IAM Identity Center is used for used to provision or manage account across multiple accounts or personas multiple accounts. The other one is login type. Login type for IAM is IAM users or roles, but for IAM Identity Center is for SSO. Best for, like, what is it best for? So IAM is best for AWS resource permission. Why IAM Identity Center is best for enterprise workforce. And when it comes to multi-account support, IAM can support multiple accounts, but you have to do it manually. But in the case of IAM Identity Center, it's built in, it's a capability built into that. So then the other thing I want to say is just to give you some mental models that can help you stay, understand this thing more and more. Now, in the case of IAM Identity Center, let's assume you have like 500 users. You can provision them, they can log in from central login portal. And after that, that allows you to kind of connect with your corporate identity provider and the identity center, and those IAM rules, are automatically created, used, and discarded. How does this solve, what kind of business problem does this solve? Now, if you look at it before IAM Identity Center, you have problems like separate IAM user per account. That's so that you can create a developer account in AWS account A and have to go and create it in AWS account B. That's why you are reinventing the way that is redundancy. But when you deploy AWS IAM Identity Center, that problem is solved. Password sprawl, people have to remember multiple password, in the environment, which is not really engaging, these days. So these are the problems, but with this solution, these problems are solved. So what I will be doing is, how do we get these deployed in a production environment? How does this translate to solutions? So what I will do is that at the end of this video, I'm going to do a hands-on environment. A hands-on deep dive, and I will show you how you can implement this in your environment. Either you are practicing or you want to deploy it in your environment, maybe at workplace. What are those best practices? How can you go about them? What are those things you need to consider? A hands-on dive, deep dive, and that will show you how to do it. Thank you once again. Bye.